Welcome back to the channel, guys. It's one of those rare days in Ireland where the sun's shining, so we better crack on and get this Rotovator finished and get out there and get working. If you haven't seen part one, link is in the description below, so make sure you check that out. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so first job, this little bush that sat on the end of the shaft there, that was really badly worn, so I got a new one. I drifted a new one on there. I might have to drift it in a bit further. I think it should be right back, but I just want to take all the measurements off the seal first to make sure it's sitting right. But you can see, over in the light, that is a bad ridge worn into this. Plus it was worn on the inside where it was rotating on the shaft. So yeah, that was done. So this is our old seal. It's a new one, different type of seal. According to the supplier, this seal has been available for about the last 20 years, but I think this one should be just as good. So we'll get this one knocked out and fit our new one and take it from there. Okay, to get the seal out, basically put the vice grips on the lip, worked it until it snapped, so it snapped the lip off the existing seal all the way around the surface here. Then flat screwdriver in at an angle, avoiding scratching the surface, and hammer in. And now the seal should be pretty loose, so I'm just going to give it a few more taps. It should come out of there pretty easily. That's it out. So it remains the old seal. So before I fit the new one, I'm going to clean as much of this crud out from around the bearings as possible, and we fit the seal and lubricate them, then put it back together. Okay, new seal fitted in place. So, and over here we have our new bush in place, so I'm going to start assembly. Okay, so seal's in, and that's the end reassembled, so it's basically ready for the cover, but unfortunately I need a replacement roll pin for inside that, just to hold that nut. Don't have one, so I'm going to have to leave it here for this evening, and hopefully I can get one somewhere tomorrow, because it's a double bank holiday, so not sure if I can get one. So I think I'm going to crack on with the height adjusters while I wait for that, and we get the second wheel done and bolt this thing back together. And hopefully, worst case scenario, if I can't get a roll pin somewhere tomorrow, I'll be able to get one Saturday and just have it as the final job, so we're ready to go. So let's get cracking. Okay, so I got a split pin, got that inserted in there, so that'll do in place of that roll pin, and I steam cleaned the cover. You can see here actually where the chain was making contact, so I need to check the chain tension when we reassemble it. But got a brand new car gasket, so I'm just going to put a little bit of instant gasket just to hold this in position, and do it on both sides, and then we'll bolt it up to the engine machine. Okay, so that's it, basically reassembled. Everything's on there. I'll fill it up with oil in a minute and see does it leak. Hopefully it doesn't. Now, before I finish up, I need to adjust the tension on the chain. So, I'll just show you now. That's the tensioner, and if I come around this side to this plug, at the moment, if I use the machine like this, chain's going to hit the cover. So basically what I'm going to do is tighten this bolt down until it stops hitting the cover, and just keep putting my finger in the end every once in a while. Don't want it too tight, just want it tight enough that it doesn't hit that cover. Right, so chain is adjusted. Now it's time for the moment of truth. Does it hold oil? Okay, so it's exactly 1 hour and 1 minute later, and the entire thing is stripped down again. As soon as I finished filling the oil, it just started dripping out the bottom. So, seal doesn't appear to be compromised or anything. Just can't figure it out. Let's check that that bushing is all the way in on the shaft. So I'm just going to give that another tap in and make sure that somebody suggested to me that maybe the leak is around the bearing housing rather than the seal. So it's hard to make out, but I mean the seal looks good. Gonna check it over again, but yeah, need to make sure that the leak isn't down there. That all those rivets are tight. So yeah, it's starting to get very fucked off with this thing about now. Okay, found the problem, and it wasn't the seal. I'd installed the seal correctly. Let's see, can I do this? I need to get a hand under it. These rivets are loose. I can actually catch them and turn them with my fingers. So it looks like the oil wasn't coming through the seal, it was coming in around the edge of that plate. That is just a absolute disaster. Okay, as much as I wanted to give up on this thing this evening, I stayed on. I've got the vast majority of the rivets out of here. Just have 2 to finish off, but I need to recharge the batteries for the grinder. And I'll pick up some M10 bolts in the morning with thread lock nuts, and I put some additional thread lock on them, plus get some sealer result to put between the housing and this plate. I'll steam clean the whole lot before I do that. Other thing I did was sort out the second wheel, so that's welded in there. That should fit nicely, and yeah, I know it's a larger diameter than the other wheel we have, but because the two sides are independent, it doesn't matter. I can just adjust it differently to the second side. So yeah, I think I've had enough for one day. I'm going to lock up and head to my supplier in the morning and get some bolts and some sealer. When we get back on this thing, we might still be able to rotovate by tomorrow evening. Fingers crossed. Okay, so that's the bearing carrier removed, and the entire rear of it was completely soaked in oil. So that's where our problem was. It was right in here where there's no other way it could have gotten in there. So yeah, that appears to be how we're losing the oil out of the machine. So I'm going to take this and the plate away now, and I'm going to steam clean them thoroughly. And I've got some new bolts, lock nuts, thread seal and more sealer. So I'm just going to bolt the whole thing together, then stick it back in the machine. We leave it set then for probably the rest of the day before we put oil in there. So let's get cracking. Okay, so I've been and used the steam cleaner. I've thoroughly steam cleaned each component, and see here every little bit of dirt and grease is gone from those surfaces, and I've dried it with compressed air. So what I'm going to do now is get my bolts ready. I've got these bolts with nylock nuts, but I'm also going to use a little bit of thread lock on it, just to be absolutely safe. And I'm going to smother all these surfaces in silicone sealer or some kind of, I got stuff there, it's an instant gasket, I think it's silicone vest. So that should do that. We will reassemble it then and leave that go off, so we won't fill the thing with oil until morning, or maybe later on this evening. So, gonna get cracking. Okay, it's on there, and this thing has got to be sealed this time. The RTV is starting to squeeze out around the plates. I added a little extra thread lock, nylock nuts. This thing should stay there. So, right, gonna start getting it back on the rotovator again. Take two. This thing is heavy. We've lifted it a couple of times. End plate is refitted, but I left the tensioner in the wrong position when I put in the bearing carrier, so I know how to remove it and put it back in the correct place before we go any further. Okay, that's it back together. Haven't filled it with oil yet. I'm going to leave the gasket set overnight, even though it says an hour, but look, just going to leave it off till tomorrow. Fitted the last of the missing spades, fitted that tyre, now it's clashing slightly, so I need to take that off again and just put a couple of washers or something in there just to space it a little bit, or I might flip it around the other way. So that just leaves height adjusters and to sort out this cover, but before I do that, I'm just tired now, my hands are sore and things, so I'm just going to grab the grease gun and grease everything, so that when I have those, I mean, I probably could get away with the covers, and I think I could even get away with using with the height adjusters the way they are at the moment. I really do want to get this thing rotovating, but yeah, I'll grease it up anyway and I'll see after that. I hate this grease gun. I really hate it. Okay, I can't avoid this job any longer. It's moment of truth. I'll fill it up. See, there's a whole oil this time. And I sincerely hope that it does. Because I really can't face the prospect of taking this thing apart for the third time. So, let's see what happens. Okay, so it's about probably an hour or so later, and I got some bad news. Still leaks. Can you believe it? But flip side of this is that's about 10 minutes worth. You can see that container was not empty when I went in there. It's leaking incredibly slowly in comparison to what it was. It's literally a drop probably every 2 to 3 minutes. Now I have a theory about this, and that is that the machine needs to rotate to allow that seal to settle. So the seal could be slightly kinked at the moment, and if I was to rotate the shaft on it, it might just sit properly. Also, I think it's to the point now that I have 75-80 in there. It's probably just not the container that was knocked over, so it's not the not quite as thick. 75-85. It's not quite as thick as what it should have in it, and I've been told you can run these things on liquid grease instead of oil, so I would imagine if we either went for a heavier oil or for that liquid grease that it shouldn't leak. At least I hope anyway. So look, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab the tractor and let's throw it on there. Still haven't finished working the cover on the back, but to be honest now I need a little bit of a boost with this thing. Now this could be a complete disaster because this thing has never been tested. So let's get it on the tractor, let's rotate it on the tractor without the PTO. Just once I lift it off the ground and be able to rotate it, and then if it all seems okay, let's stick it on the PTO and see what happens. So here goes. Yeah, I thought we could fire this thing up, but yeah, the old turret hasn't disappointed. It's torturing me yet again. This time the buttons on the drive shaft were stuck, so couldn't get it on the PTO, so I get to soak those all out in oil and smack them with a hammer until they release. I tell you, I don't think I've ever hated a machine as much as this Rotovator. I'm really, really sick of it. Okay, I've had enough of this thing for one day. Gonna leave it in here for the night, leave it on the tractor. The split the hinges with the grinder, I'll show you that in better light tomorrow whenever I assemble it. But I just short some M12 nuts and I have them somewhere, and new bolts, so I should be able to hang on the covers tomorrow, and then where they've cut I'll just weld them back up again. What else have we got? The funny thing is we have actually left, I was going to empty the oil container that was underneath it, but we've actually lost very little oil. So I wonder if that partial rotation that I made by hand has actually slowed the leak even further, or else stopped it. So maybe I was right, maybe that seal was just hanging up in the shaft and that it needed to rotate to go into full position. But I'll know more in the morning when the entire floor is covered in oil. But either way, I think if it doesn't hold oil, I'm just going to fill it with liquid grease. I'm really not opening this thing again for a tiny little leak, which I would imagine even a thicker oil will probably stop. It may even stop by itself. But so plan for tomorrow, I'm back to work, so I'm going to take the dry shaft and the two height adjusters to a neighbour. He's got gas. I just dropped them to him in the morning and asked him to hit him with gas and just get him released for me. I won't have time to do it myself, and I really want to get this thing out and working, so I'll just leave it with him. He'd have to sort it out in probably half an hour. So that's it. Close the door on this. I think I have well and truly had enough of this place for the weekend. Okay, so the height adjusters are apart. Neighbour of mine heated them up for me, so I'll show you the makeup of them. So there are two roll pins through the handle, holding it on here, and then inside that you have the threaded section, and down here is the lock nut. So he heated those up, took them apart, freed them off, so I'm just going to grease this now, put it back together and stick it on the machine. Alright, everything's back together. Height adjuster is refitted. I'll set the depth of this thing in a minute. I'm just going to fire it up now for the first time and see does it actually rotate. So here we go. Turning over normally, there's no vibration or anything, so thankfully that roll is straight. I'm just going to drop down the cover to position myself on this plough area. I'm not going to set the adjusters initially, I'll just keep it on the lift and we'll see how it goes. I've never used it before, so it's a bit of a learning curve. Apparently, the more you close the covers, the more the pulverizes the earth. Fairly low position because I've got a nice break up here. Alright, so I'm going to have to fix that after. One cover is a bit higher than the other, but it doesn't matter for the moment. I'm going to get in there and let's give it a shot. Okay, so I'm going to end the video right here. Don't worry, I'm going to bring you video footage of this machine working shortly. I'm actually going to sit down now, edit the second video, which will take us through the ploughing with the 6610, rotovating, and also we're going to use the decks to do a little bit of work. So I'm going to bring that out pretty much straight away. Thanks for watching the video. By the way, I want to give a shout out to another supporter of the channel, and that is Mack Mechanical. Link is down below. Ali's a good guy, always drops a comment when he sees my videos, gives them a thumbs up, and he's also shared my last video on his channel, so please go along to his channel, support him. So that's it guys. If you're new around here, make sure you hit the subscribe button, don't forget to leave a comment and press like if you enjoyed what you just saw. As I say, I'm going to sit down now and edit the next video. All the work for it is complete. I'll probably bring it up maybe an hour or two after this one. Let's see. So that's it. Thanks for watching.